Hi friends, the Thack here for the noobs, and today I thought it would be good to look at the story, or lore, for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Zombies. This is the entire Dark Aether story for zombies, and will take us into the new story that continues with the new map Firebase Z coming on the 4th of Feb. I'll try to focus on the Dark Aether story itself in Cold War today, but keep a lookout because I might go deeper into the origins of the whole zombies story, starting with World at War, in another video. Before I start though, don't forget to click the big red subscribe button. Come join us on our journey as we create a community of friends. Okay, so for today, let's start with a recap of the story we saw with the launch of Cold War. This is the Dark Aether story, and Die Maschine is the first part of that story. Obviously, we know Cold War is set in the 80s, but actually the origins of this story go back a little bit further in history. So let's take a look. And we start with the place below creation. As creation reset and the new universe was fully separated into one singular timeline, the rest of creation was indeed banished into the depths of the Dark Aether, becoming twisted and deformed. Those unfortunate enough to be banished into the Dark Aether were quick to succumb to its primordial corruption, with some rising from the dead and a new species emerging from the corruption. Similar to how the Elder Gods emerged from the banished keepers, who would eventually become known as the Apothicons, new beings came to emerge that would be known as the Elder Gods as well, which took the form of giants. While in the place below creation, everything within it suffered in timeless, eternal agony, the new universe was fairly at peace, with life able to continue on as normal. And this brings us to Project Endstation. So as World War II drew closer to an end, the Nazis were desperate to win the war by any means, with several programs dedicated to ensuring a victory for the Reich. One of these programs was the Urwein, the Nazi program dedicated to atomic research and uranium enrichment. During summer 1943, Kurt Diebener approved the proposal of a massive particle accelerator, a collider called cyclotron, and it was funded and headed by Vogel. The site was created in a wooded area called Morysaco in Nazi-occupied Poland, and this starts to set the scene for what we see in Cold War. But before that, we also had the incident. On March 7th, 1944, Vogel and Kurtz performed another test on the cyclotron. During the process, the particle accelerator malfunctioned and opened a localized rift between their world and another dimension, the Dark Aether. Creatures started coming through the gateway, and men close to the collider started to turn into zombies. The small outbreak was contained, but the cyclotron was now operating on its own, without external power. In the following days, Vogel began studying the victims of the incident, believing they were infected by an intoxic element dubbed exoelement. Vogel started working on decontamination chambers designed to restore the brain activity of the fallen soldiers. I believe it was called Der Wechsler. Following the Normandy landings, Hitler realized the potential of the findings at Endstation, and by summer 1944 tasked Vogel to weaponize this incident and their other works. But little progress was made, and with the Red Army coming ever closer to the facility, Project Endstation was abandoned in late January 1945. And this led to the discovery by the Red Army. A week after it was abandoned, the Red Army arrived at the Poland station. They recorded on film their progress. The rift created by the cyclotron and the attacks by the zombies that followed were all recorded in this recording. A week later, February the 10th, 1945, a cleaning crew led by Colonel Pavel Lazarev arrived at the facility. After the zombies were eliminated, Lazarev tasked Sergeant Zykov to stop the cyclotron. After being sealed inside the facility, Zykov successfully shut down the particle accelerator, but died in the process. And the film reveals all about Project Endstation, and these were sent to the Soviet archives and remained hidden for almost 40 years. And all of this story was discoverable throughout the occasion in Die Maschine, so you could find loads of little bits of intel and information that have detailed all of this story. And that history brings us to today, the reactivation of the cyclotron. And when I say today, obviously I mean the events of Cold War, because in March 1983, believing the United States were becoming a serious threat to the Soviet Union, the KGB chairman ordered to restore the Omega Group, a special Spetsnaz unit. Omega Group started scouring KGB archives and found the film in its intelligence vault. After they reviewed the film, Omega Group were authorized to weaponize the findings of Project Endstation and harness the power of the cyclotron and the Dark Aether to give the Soviet Union a strategic advantage over the United States and NATO. The Endstation facility was secured by Omega Group in August 1983. After 2 months of study, the cyclotron and other experimental devices were restored to operational condition by late October. The reactivation of the cyclotron was dubbed Oprestia Gorbevich, or Operation Undertaker. This was overseen by Valentina and Dr. Peck. Valentina had tasked 2 men to reactivate the collider. The men were successful, but one of the men tasked with reactivating it turned into Megatron in the process. With the reactivation of the cyclotron, several gateways and dimension breaches started to appear around the world, and this led to the formation of Requiem. So during the 2 weeks that followed the reactivation of the cyclotron, Tatiana, a contact of BND agent Samantha Maxis, told Maxis that the KGB uncovered something from their archives and was launching a ground operation. Tatiana managed to steal a copy of the End Station film and sent it to Maxis, believing that the BND was compromised by the Omega Group. Samantha left the agency, but asked Dieter, the only BND agent she still trusted, to send the End Station tape to the CIA. After the CIA received the tape, Samantha contacted Weaver to persuade him to look at the footage. When Weaver asked her to turn herself into the CIA for protection, she refused, and even fought off teams sent by Weaver to retrieve her. Maxis then left Germany and arrived to Romania to pursue a new contact within the Omega Group she believed she could turn. To face this new threat, the CIA created a department called Requiem, with Weaver becoming head of its field operations division and commanding officer. He was soon joined by Dr. Elizabeth Gray as the head of the Unnatural Science Division, Dr. Oscar Strauss, a former scientist at Project End Station who left the project before the incident of 1944, and Major Mackenzie Carver, the head of the Containment and Security Division. And this sets the backstory of Cold War with our two opposing teams, Requiem, the supposed good guys, and Omega, the supposed bad guys. And this leads us to Operation Cerberus, which is much of what the first episode in the Cold War Zombies set around Die Maschine is about. With the intel provided by Maxis, Requiem launched a reconnaissance operation called Cerberus on November 13th, 1983. A strike team was dispatched at the Project End Station facility, where they discovered the cyclotron and its gateway to the Dark Aether. During the exploration of the site, the strike team entered the other dimension and encountered Mayak, the Megatron Overlord. They also managed to partially resurrect Orlov using Der Wächter, allowing him to assist the team in deactivating the cyclotron and close the rift open. He warned the strike team that Omega Group had big plans. As Orlov stayed behind to ensure the facility would be destroyed, Raptor 1 exfiltrated the team as a nuclear detonation occurred. Weaver congratulated the team personally, but noted the fight was far from over, and in following the months of the destruction of Project End Station, more rifts started to appear around the world, and this slowly brings us towards Firebase Z, the story that will come with a new map that's being released on the 4th of February. With these dimensional breaches that continue to open around the world, Omega and Requiem continue to work in the shadows to ensure the greater public remain blissfully unaware of the deadly new arms race between the East and the West. We see the two sides continue to study the Dark Aether dimension and the Aetherian crystals found within each. Both of these sides are striving for an advantage over each other in the ongoing Cold War. But the bad news based around Firebase Z is that Requiem has fallen behind. You see, Omega Group's newest research outpost represents their resounding success in harnessing Dark Aether technology for their own gains. Equipped with an on-site dimensional gateway, they have acquired the ability to send soldiers and other conscripts into the Dark Aether to harvest the crystals straight from the source. Now, with the destruction of the Project End Station anomaly site in their wake, Weaver sends agents of Requiem to a new Dark Aether outbreak in Southeast Asia. And after learning that Agent Maxis has been captured by Omega Group, Weaver deploys the Requiem strike team to infiltrate the facility where she's reportedly being held. This is Outpost 25, or Firebase Z as the codename is. Against all odds, the Requiem forces will infiltrate the outpost to rendezvous with an Omega Group format to save Samantha Maxis, and above all else, survive the new horrors that await them in this new abandoned facility. For sure, as we jump into the new map, there'll be new story details, new intel reveals, plenty more information to come around the story. But I hope for now this gives you some background of the zombie story that we've got going on in Cold War, and what's to come in the new map in terms of lore and story for Call of Duty Cold War Zombies. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.